Hey everyone, Beanie Boy Bricks back again, and today is the second part of our little decal tips and tricks tutorial. So today we are going to be doing the helmets. So again, like me previously mentioned, I am using the knockoff style phase 2 helmets. I still think they look quite good. But yeah, it's really nice. So what you're going to need first is a couple of spare heads, super glued down onto a thing. This is for you to put your helmet on to make it more more easier for you to apply the decals, sponge them down, and it's not going to go anywhere. So that's why I've got this for, and I've got the other two heads there because I do multiple at a time. Also what you're going to need is your X-Acto knife or your scissors. Always make sure it's tightened up, and please be careful because these are very sharp. You're going to need your sponge for applying the decal, little pot of water, and if you do choose to use it, you need your tweezers as well, is a micro set and a small brush. I tend to use it, I find it easier for myself. You don't have to. Some decalers say use it, some say don't, but it's up to you. I recommend using it. You only need a little bit on. So what I'm going to do in today's episode is I'm going to cut out the helmet decals of one trooper first. I always cut out the bits I need as I need them, so I don't get mixed up, and especially as I do multiple at a time, I don't want them getting all muddled up. So what I'm going to do for the start is use my scissors, cut. I don't have to be too neat on this section, but just going to cut out. Careful I don't cut into any of the decal. There. So got all that. So I'm going to put the legs and the torsos back to the side again. Oh, I need to cut out the rebreather. That's easy enough. Yeah, I noticed actually on the 212 one from Jonak toys, they didn't come with the rebreathers, so that was a bit of a shame. So what a lot of people say is, like, if you get the official Lego ones and you wipe them down, leave the rebreathers, and then when you get sets which do have rebreathers, you could cut them out still and keep them to a side and keep them spare. So then if anything like this happens or you mess up one, you've got a rebreather to put on. So that's always a nice little tip for you. So what I tend to do now I've got my decals cut out, so I always go like that. Just thing, if you've got a concept image, make sure you've got one, so then you kind of know what it should look like. Or if you got a picture of someone's on Instagram, whatever, make sure that you got like a sort of image so you can tell where they're meant to go roughly. So what I tend to do now is, for the thicker parts, I tend to use my scissors, as I find that easier. But when it gets toward the intricate parts, I tend to use my X-Acto knife, so I could get closer in and I could concentrate more. So I tend to do all the big bits first, get all those off. See, this might not be the most efficient way of doing it. There might be better ways to do it, but this is just the way I do it personally. So you can ignore me and find a way that works for you. And I would recommend that. Find a way that works for you, and that's better. So I'm just gonna concentrate now. I might go a bit quiet because you need to actually concentrate when cutting these. So you want to get as close as you can to the detail, but careful not to cut into it. I tend to always go over twice. There. So that's the top bit done. Now I always go into the cheek bit first and then the side bits, because I always find I want as much room to operate as possible. So excuse me if I'm quiet on this section. So what I also tend to do is sort of like do a slight carve with my X-Acto knife so I could get like a little running line. So it's like a little sketch line. And then I go back across harder to actually cut. So this might work for you, this might not. This is the way I do it. Again, this is all this. I'm never claiming to be the best on here. I've only been doing decaling for a little bit myself. So this is like helping out newbies as well. What I've learnt, what I do, and also just like encouraging you guys to find your own way essentially. So So got that bit done. Not the cleanest, but yeah. So I'm gonna go and do these cheek parts. Actually, I might do that with the scissors. I could actually do that with scissors. Again, you just want to be careful. Take your time with this. There's no point rushing cutting your decals out, because you don't want to mess them up and you don't want to waste them essentially. So I always say take your time. I am going to cut out the other pieces as well. Normally I don't tend to do that. I tend to do one bit at a time, because that's how I like to do it. Yeah, so I'm all done with face shield. So I always clean up after I go as well. I just find that so much better. This I don't tend to be too intricate and neat with. I just go for it because these are small parts anyway. If you go right up to the black line, it kind of overlaps with the helmet, so I cut as close as I possibly can. Try not to think. It does make it hard because it is quite small. There, so I'm just gonna cut across there. I ain't too worried. Sometimes I recommend leaving this part till last, because it is quite a small piece. You don't want to lose it, you don't want to accidentally throw it away with your scraps. So it's entirely up to you, and I made a boo-boo in my own rules. I tend to do the intricate part on this one first, because it is quite fiddly. Yeah, I'm going to need my X-Acto knife just to get in there. You can see it's not great. Black lines are still showing, so I'm going to stop it here, finish off these off camera, and then show you what they look like afterwards. Right, welcome back everyone. I've actually cut them all off camera. Sorry. So yeah, they're quite intricate, these bits, so I just done it off camera because it's easier. I will do a time lapse for the rest when I do them, but let's go on into it. So what I tend to do now is I move out the bits that I'm not using just for the moment, and I will be taking my time. I grab my decal, which is here, pop this in the water. I do one at a time. I get my micro set, which is just off to the side here, get my little paintbrush, plop it in. Yeah, you can see that on camera. Wipe off any excess. And then I just go like this. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just go across the front like that. Just give it a little coat. It doesn't have to be choking matte, just a little coat, little dab. Hopefully by then my decal is wet enough. Jonak decals do tend to fold if they get left in water for too long, so I try not to leave them in there that long. So you grab your tweezers, place it on your finger. This is the only time you really want to touch it with your fingers, is just slide it off, and see how easy that slid off? So that's perfect now. So I use my tweezers, get it off, put my scraps into my little pot, and now I am trying to do this whilst looking through a camera as well. You try and get on as neatly as possible. I think that's alright, actually, looking through the camera. But you use your tweezers to align it. Take your time, just make it pretty. I get the black lines lined up here, so it will move around, so you just want to sort of like have a little play around. Be careful with your tweezers, because some tweezers are sharp and you might cut your decal, so essentially just still take your time. See, I've misaligned it now in the center, so yeah, the cheek pads look alright, the rebreathers look alright. Yeah, everything looks alright for the most part. Maybe slightly misaligned, but let's go on into it. So you want to get your sponge. Oh, I see where it's misaligned. Just there. Yeah. So you just want to get in a position where you're happy with it. If you're happy, then it's fine. If you're unhappy and if it's not sticking, if it just keeps falling off, just put it back in the water, put a bit more microset on it and things. So I'm going to get my sponge. It's a clean sponge, and just dab down. Alright, I'm going to go a bit hard. I'm going to go around here, trying to get out as much moisture, water in there. So I am going to lift that up, give you a closer look, and then I'm going to go in at different angles and press down again. You want to be careful not to put your fingers or your thumbs on the actual decal itself. That's why you've got this little stand. Try not to have any air bubbles. So I need to do this side now. I can put my thumb on top because there's no decal applicator there. And try not to like rub across, because you might tear off the decal or move it and shift it, and then you'll have to try and peel it off and start again, which you don't want to do. I've done that and it's not a fun process trying to do it all over again. That's why I say slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So you want to be smooth and slow as much as possible. So keep going, keep going. You just want to keep looking as you're doing it. Yeah. You do want to put some pressure on there, not too much. Alright, so if you look there, it's mostly okay. It is slightly misaligned, very slightly, but at the same time I'm okay with that. See, now I'm doing it all on camera. So what I want to do now is the headpiece. I always do the headpiece next and the rebreather last. So any head detail next on top, rebreather last. So what I do again, put my little decal in the water pot over here. Always dry off your fingers. Careful not to knock that over. I've already done that where I didn't make sure my side was clean, clear of obstructions. So what you want to do is just this again, just a little splattering. Alright, I think we're good. So I'm going to grab my decal, place it on my finger, got my thumb, and it is sliding off nicely. See, that's as long as you really need in the water. So, got my wolf symbol there, which you can't really see now I'm holding over what you can, and you want to, as delicately as possible, put it on. You want to try and get it lined up right there, so the two ears of the wolf go either side of the fin. See, this is the part I dislike the most doing the helmets, because it could always slide, and I'm just trying to get all lined up as best to my abilities. I never claim to be the best at this. I am still learning myself. This is just for other newbies, just a little bit of tips and tricks. So I'm going to place down the ears. It's not quite lined up, so I need to shift it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just pretty enough for yourself. So I think that looks all right for the time being. And I'm going to get my sponge and I'm going to press down. I always press down at the top first. Make sure that's all done. I am rocking my thumb back and forth a little bit, now side to side, and I'm going to lift off. Alright, so yeah, that looks alright actually, looking at it through the camera still. So I'm going to get back my sponge again, going at a different angle. Just make sure I get all the moisture out of there, all the water, all the micro set. Going at a different angle. Try not to rub, because I could rub off the decal and really mess up all the progress I've made and have to start again, which is not fun, especially for me at the moment making this video. But yes, so there's my wolf pack. Alright, last thing is the rebreather, and then after that I'll do a time lapse of me doing all the other helmets and putting them on my stands. So again, same process as before. Bit of micro set there for myself. I prefer using it. You don't have to. Get my tweezers, pick out the little rebreather. Yep, slid off straight away again. This is the part that tends to fold the most if you leave it in water, so it'll fold around your tweezers, which you don't want. Luckily, I've got it just right. And then you just want to place it on. Doesn't have to be neat straight away. As you can tell, it's definitely not lined. But then you could use your tweezers to match up, push it where you need it, press it down a little bit, just to a point where you're happy. That's the thing, is like, you're gonna make mistakes. I've made mistakes. My first decal is terrible. My second one was a bit better. And as you do more and more and more, you get better and better and better. And that's all you have to take away from it. Is like, you're not gonna be perfect straight away. So I've pressed it down a little bit. I didn't press it down too hard. But yeah, it looks all right. All right, so now I'm gonna do it. So a little bit of rocking action, just making sure I got all the moisture. Still looks all right. It doesn't look like any bits falling off or really misaligned. So just a few more. And there you go. So I'm going to do a quick little time lapse showing you all the rest of them done, because I am doing a series of doing 4, and I'll catch you guys in a second. everyone, welcome back after that little time lapse. I have now completed all 4 helmets for my Wolfpack troopers. I tend to do the helmets first because I find them the hardest point to do, so I always like to do them first so I can take my time on them and get them right for the most part. But yeah, they're looking really good, maybe slightly misaligned on the visor mouthpiece, but apart from that everything else looks good on them, so I'm really happy. But that's about it for today's episode. What do you think down below? Comment everything. I'm not claiming to be an expert, this is just little tips and tricks, a little showcase of what I do, what I'm doing at the moment. And subscribe if you enjoy, and stay tuned for the next episode, which will be the torsos. Thank you all very much. Catch you all next time.